Peep Kenobi urges you to like this video and subscribe or he will lose the high ground. Vintage stamp from the past. 10 US cents. Retarded children can be helped. Yesterday, I shot one of my most detailed solar images to date, revealing the twisted surface of our sun. Mama Lynx and her 7 kittens visited the front porch of a house in Alaska. It's unusual to see such a large litter. French striker realizes the riot policeman is his childhood friend. 1972. Carrie-Anne Moss wore a custom pleated silk chiffon gown and cape for the premiere of The Matrix Resurrections. Oscar de la Renta embroidery, crafted from a sequence of threadwork with green and silver sequins, echoes Assyria's digital reign. Polar bears at an abandoned Soviet weather station on Kalyachin Island, Russia. Norilsk City in Russia, the most depressing city in the world. This is George W. McLaurin in 1948 being segregated from the rest of his university class. He was the first African American to attend the University of Oklahoma. He became a professor, and because of his courage he enabled minority groups to attend university. Lightning strike during sunset off the coast of Florida. Meet Jenny, the horse who takes a daily stroll alone through Frankfurt for almost 14 years. She walks alone, since her owner has gotten older and is unable to ride anymore. The locals know Jenny well and look after her, giving her treats and making sure that she gets home safe. On December 16, 2021, Star Energy oil drilling crew in Indonesian Natuna Sea spotted a rusting tank floating in the water. The Sombrero Galaxy by Hubble. The execution of a German saboteur who was wearing an American military uniform during his capture. France, 1944. Today it's known in Alexandria, Egypt. A rare optic sight, the Brocken spectre, which occurs when a person stands at a higher altitude in the mountains and sees his shadow cast on a cloud at a lower altitude. My friend found this metal detecting in the timber. Hippos are hulking muscular tanks, and that their layer of subcutaneous body fat is surprisingly thin. The teeth of a victim of the Vesuvius eruption that destroyed Pompeii 2000 years ago. They were in perfect condition in life, due to a combination of dietary and environmental factors, and remain so to this day. Supermoon sets over Mont St. Michael. The director of the Belgrade Zoo tries to convince Sammy the chimpanzee to return home after he escaped. 1988. Osama bin Laden attended an English language course in Oxford, England during 1971. Jimi Hendrix having tea with his guitar. The last photos ever taken of him, taken by his girlfriend the day before he died, while they were staying at the Samarkand Hotel on September 16, 1970. Underwater cliff. What the Andromeda Galaxy would look like from Earth if it was a bit brighter. A rare black leopard seen in India. What a majestic animal. Only the third example of crucifixion that we've ever found, discovered UK, this month. Roband axe of Giovanni Battista Bugatti, who was the official executioner for the Papal States from 1796 to 1864. During his tenure, he executed 514 people. Milky Way above white sands. I was today years old when I learned why we call them eggplants. Meet Jasper, a Nile Sphinx cat that will 100% haunt your nightmares. Classic Italian fireplaces are lit. Floating ice after a decrease in water level. Salt rocks in Iran. In Istanbul during the 1960s, it became common for bars to hire basket men, whose entire job was to carry people who were too drunk to walk back to their houses. Piebaldism, a genetic condition characterized by the absence of cells called melanocytes in certain areas of the skin and hair. You'll often see lighter skin near the top of the forehead. Fiber optic bikini. This is the statue of Sutsumam in Turkey. He fired the first bullet against the French Armenian soldier in Merah who tried to remove the veil of a Muslim woman. An elephant beetle, Megasoma elephas, on a human's shoulder. A Japanese religion titled Motohiro to people, NTOP, exists only to give followers a reason to say no, because of religious reasons to get out of things they don't want to do. Khalid al-Jazal, a 500 years old mud brick village built on top of massive boulder. Common snapping turtle babies look like tiny dinosaurs. How are owls weighed? Weapons and ammunition are recovered from Bonnie and Clyde's car after they were killed by the police 1934. A beautifully interesting wood sculpture by Deborah Bernier. This mama orangutan got close to a best feeding mom and her newborn and stay with them for a good half hour. They may be species apart, but this act of feeding their young connected them during that moment. This mall setting up its Christmas display make Rudolph look like he's on a murderous rampage. Robert Chelsea, the first African American face transplant recipient. The sun and the planets to scale, Earth. A Himalayan griffon vulture, the second largest of the old world vultures, showing off its fake eyes. An agate stone that looks like the ocean. A bicycle covered in spider webs. Tiny forest on an abandoned ship in the Pacific Northwest. Inside an ice cave under a volcano in Kamchatka, Russia. The ceiling of Fatih Masun II Menorah. A young Russian boy touches a mummified mammoth calf that died 41,800 years ago. Ship propeller size compared to human. In 1848, railroad worker Phineas Gage had this iron rod shot through his head. Brothel, or short time. Candles were 19th century candles used in brothels. Whenever a saloon girl brought a customer upstairs, she would put her candles in the little hole in the box and light it. The candle would burn for 5 to 7 minutes, and when the flame went out the customer's time was over. Auntie Moser was born in 1749 and was photographed here in 1852 at the age of 103. She is considered to be one of the earliest born people to be photographed. Winners of Miss Perfect Posture contest at the 1956 Chiropractors Convention. CN Tower poking out of the clouds on approach into Toronto. This 1950s era toy came with 4 types of actual uranium. It was pulled from the market. Atomic Energy Lab performs over 150 exciting experiments for the junior scientist. This sign of 2 women protesting in the 1960s, bamming 4 pieces like ducking for Beer Jean City. The world's first captive bred purple toads, a Telepas bar botany. The experience you had before you were born was simply nothing. Correct? No experience at that. Now, when you die, being unconscious is the exact same thing. Nothing. Yet here you are, that nothingness. And you will return back to that nothingness when you die. The state we were in, and will be in before birth and being dead. Are they both not the same? If one were to consider themselves intrinsically part of the universe itself, which you are, when one dies, does the universe not continue? This picture taken by astrophysicist Gianluca Massi shows the International Space Station passing directly over Rome's Colosseum. Candle salad, a vintage fruit salad that was popular in America from the 1920s through to the 1960s. The future of computing. Finland's first 5-qubit quantum computer. I introduce to you the absolute monstrosity of a flying insect, the Dobson Fly. Traffic signal in Mumbai where LED lights are placed on the lamppost in combination with a traditional stoplight. Iowa tornado hits library. Not one book disturbed. Riot December 15, 2021. Mailman insurance and poses with his heavy load of Christmas mail and parcels. Chicago 1929. A Spitfire aircraft carrying kegs of beer for Allied troops fighting in Normandy June 1944. The boathouse skeletons of Herculaneum, victims of the same eruption that destroyed the city of Pompeii. 340 individuals, men, women and children, tried to find shelter on the stone boathouses right near the beach, only for them to suffocate together due to the pyroclastic flow. Leonardo DiCaprio and Daniel Day-Lewis on the set of Gangs of New York 2002. An air gunner stands before his B-24 bomber wearing what it took to survive at 25,000 foot altitude 1944. FBI ding a print archive 1944. Napoleon's toothbrush circa 1795. Graffiti artists say legal painting on a shop wall from 2013 is highlighted after renovations in 2021. This is a rusty spotted cat and it's the world's smallest cat, which is only the size of an 8-week-old kitten. It's native in the forests of India and Sri Lanka. Sergei Krikalev is a Russian cosmonaut who went into space in 1991, shortly before the collapse of the USSR. He spent 10 months in space. When he returned, another country was already in place of the USSR. The Crypt of Civilization is an airtight room at Oglethorpe University in Georgia, USA, that was sealed up in 1940. It contains a wealth of artifacts from literary works to everyday items, not to be opened until the year 8113. Officially recognized as the first successful modern time capsule. Folded rocks look like a painting. The carved dome of Lunavasahi, a 13th century Jain temple built entirely of white marble, Rajasthan, India. Joesph Enouy's 8-cylinder, 48-shot percussion revolver, dated 1855. Triceratops femur on the left and African elephant's leg on the right. A child gas mask from World War II. Upsee the Iceman's dagger and scabbard, found alongside his frozen body 3300 BC. In Yosemite Valley, Horsetail Fall glows orange when backlit by sunset, making it look as if fire flows down the waterfall. Occurs during mid-late February. The Devil's Bridge in Ceredigion, Wales, comprises 3 bridges built on top of each other, dating from circa 1100, 1753 and 1901. The crew of B-29 Super Fortress 4224598 Waders Wagon, 20th Air Force, 73rd Bomb Wing, 497th Bomb Group, 869th Bomb Squadron, posing to duplicate the nose art. All work here when the bomber was shot down over Japan in January 1945. In the late 19th century, it was fashionable to train zebras to pull carriages, pictured as Mr. Hardy, who was a noted horse rider and trainer. 1898. The tail gunner of the British Avro Lancaster bomber, World War II. The evolution of the baseball, 1830s. 1840 to 1870, 1870 to 1900s. 1920s, 1950 to 1965, 1998 to present. Stonehenge with the planets Jupiter, Saturn and Venus overhead. The Empire State Building went up in just over a year, under budget, at $40 million, and well ahead of schedule. During certain periods of building, the frame grew an astonishing 4.5 stories a week. June 26, 1930. July 7, 1930. July 24, 1930. August 18, 1930. September 8, 1930. November 10, 1930. The evolution of baseball gloves. 1860, 1883, 1900, 1900 to 1915, 1910 to 1920, 1920 to 1930, 1930 to 1940, 1940 to 1950, 1950 to 1960, 1960 to 1970, 1970 to 1980, 2013. Green glass furnace at an abandoned glass factory in Belgium. In Sweden there is a Röj straw goat known as Gavlebocken, the Gavli goat, which gets burned down or destroyed by people almost every year. As of today, it has survived for 5 years in a row, which is a new record. Alnwick Castle in Northumberland has a garden dedicated to dangerous plants, such as deadly nightshade. You can do guided tours. 3 Japanese-American boys interred at Manzana, 1944. Of note, the photo was taken by Toyomi Ayatake, who was himself interred at Manzana. Al-Sahaba Moiskin Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. Roman mosaic detail with 3D effect. Location: peristyle of the Domus Romana in Malta. In 2020, Victor Toth, a former Feinstein Institute's neuroengineer, taught a bunch of rats to play Doom 2 using a virtual reality setup. The city center of Split, Croatia, is built inside the ruins of the palace of the Roman Emperor Diocletian. Many original features still exist between the houses and shops. A perfect Christmas tree. Manicouagan Reservoir in Quebec, Canada is a Triassic impact crater that is easily visible from space. Massive logs being taken out on a massive sled. This was shared to me by a friend. There are only 2 horse showing, but I believe that was just for the picture, as they would require a few more to pull that many logs. Still impressive for the day. Arc Flash Labs just made a handheld Gauss rifle, and it's for sale. American soldiers with an interesting machine gun system made up of HO-103 machine gun system. Germans testing a Messerschmitt Bf 1093, 1940. Lodoicea maldivica, also known as coco de mer or the double coconut, is the largest seed in the world. A French sergeant and dog wearing gas masks near the front line during World War I, 1915. A superb Roman copy of an ancient Greek bronze depicting the head of a youth. The original, shown right, dates from around 20 CE. To the left of it is a modern reconstruction showing its original color. Held in the Munich Glyptothek, Germany. Skull Wall of the Museum of Civilization, Mexico City. Suburina, an edible ice plant that when grown under the right conditions forms these squishy water vesicles that resemble morning dew. The Apollo astronauts Charles Duke and John Young train on the Geological Rover, or Grover, a lunar rover trainer, in Arizona. Both Duke and Young went on to walk on the surface of the moon in 1972, during Apollo 16. A shot Sunderland of the 201 Squadron Royal Air Force moored at Tower Bridge during the 1956 commemoration of the Battle of Britain, London. Attaching a 100-kilogram bomb to a German airplane, World War I. This railing on gazebo in Naples has braille to describe view to blind people. Aerial photo of a cratered battlefield. The dark diagonal lines are the shadows of the few remaining tree trunks. German soldiers pose near a horse mounted with a purpose-built frame, used to accommodate a captured Russian Maxim M1910 machine gun complete with its wheeled mount and ammunition box. Top-down view of the Transamerica Pyramid in San Francisco. Lingotto Building. Elmer McCurdy bank robber died in 1911. His unclaimed corpse would be sold and displayed multiple times, until he ended up being mistaken for a dummy on the $6 Million Man in 1976. The last telegram from Wilhelm II of Germany to his cousin, Nicholas II of Russia. Prototype tracked landing gear for the B-36. The concept failed because they were extremely complex and heavy. Goodyear Aviation Products. It makes the B-36 light on its feet. A photo from the top of the once world's tallest water slide. Verrucht before its opening in 2016. This slide was involved in the decapitation of a 10-year-old boy in 2018 and was closed permanently shortly after. A stealth bomber in flight caught on Google Maps. Barrel intaglio with portrait of Julia Domna, Roman Empire, 210 AD. This G-Wagon made out of ice. Very early backup camera, Volvo VESC concept car 1972. Mount Erebus is the most southern active volcano on Earth, and with 3,794 meters the second highest in Antarctica. Meteor Monasteries of Greece. Sealed nuclear reactor compartment of a scrap Los Angeles class fast attack submarine with human forescale. Scientists conducting research at a 14,400-year-old archaeological excavation site in northern Jordan came across the oldest known archaeobotanical bread remains. Bernie Ecclestone's ex-F1 CEO, office in London, UK.